98% of people still don't understand basic concepts to do with Bitcoin. Like, what is the blockchain? What's 21 million supply cap? And Block XYZ did a study that shows intent to purchase actually increases by 50% following education. So those with limited knowledge are 28% likely to purchase. Those with expert knowledge are 17% likely to purchase. So there's literally a direct correlation between someone understanding what this thing is and actually purchasing it. But because 98% of people don't understand the basics, there's a massive barrier to entry for people. With our age group, which is going to be really important, they are going to be one of the largest and richest generations in history, Gen Z, with 12 trillion of expected purchasing power. So we at Jippi, we see this as future Bitcoin purchases that we're going to need to unlock, but we're fighting a struggle, right? So how can we gamify the experience, make it fun, engaging, so that you're actually learning about Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin, doing it the right way?
Medium of Exchange is brought to you by Polaris Payments. Let's face it, for now, businesses still need to take fiat and credit cards. Polaris Payments helps with all of your credit card processing needs using a consultative approach. You can think of Polaris like a performance coach, helping take your business to the next level when it comes to taking all forms of money. For more information, check out polarispayments.com. Now let's get back to the show.
So welcome back to Medium of Exchange podcast. Really excited to have my friend Oliver Porter on today to discuss with us what he's building in the world of Bitcoin with Jippi, as well as how we're going to onboard the next generation of Bitcoiners, particularly Gen Z. So like we were just saying, Oliver, there's not much of a structure or agenda that we need to talk through today, other than we just want to learn more about your story, your background, and what got you into Bitcoin and how you got to where you are today. So I guess just to hand the baton over to you, do you want to give a little bit of background of who you are, where you are, and your Bitcoin story?
Yeah, so really excited to be here. Thanks for the invite. Nice to meet you, Jason, and Jack. You're a hero, as always. Pleasure. Yeah, so I'm my background is software engineering. I've been a dev for 6 years now, and starting in the legacy world of finance and healthcare, and then more recently moving into blockchain, unfortunately, was my gateway drug to Bitcoin with Swan. So I got the privilege of working with the Swan team for a year on their mobile app. And during that time, really was privileged to not only be a Bitcoiner, so to sort of understand the philosophy, to be a holder myself, but also to work in the space. So there was quite a nice sort of dual approach there of working in Bitcoin and being a Bitcoiner. For my Bitcoin story, so I first heard about Bitcoin all the way back in 2015, and I was working for an education company, and I had this kind of left field colleague who was a little bit unhinged, who I love. It's called Jordan, and he's always been sort of very anti-establishment and just the greatest guy in the world. Back then, I would have been, I don't know, like 18, 19, something like that. And he told me about this thing called Bitcoin, and I didn't really understand it. I didn't actually understand what money was at that point. I think I was young enough where I was truly just living paycheck to paycheck. And so I didn't question authority. I had only glowing things to say about the government. So I wasn't in the space to sort of receive the message. And it was only really during 2020 with the COVID mania, when I was locked in my house for months on end, did Jordan push the Bitcoin standard across the table, and he was like, it's time. Like, it's time. you need to sort of understand what's going on here. And that led me down the rabbit hole, which I'm more than happy to talk about. So yeah, I just think it fit me like a glove, honestly. As a self-professed libertarian, it once I understood Bitcoin, it fit me like a glove, and I felt like I finally found my people.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I'm actually very interested to hear you say that it first struck you from the economics and libertarian side of things, and not necessarily the technical side as a software engineer. So I guess to follow up there, once you did enter the rabbit hole, how did you start to use your background of software engineering and that skill to really marry those two interests?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. at that point, so this would have been 2020, I was actually only just starting my career as a software engineer. So I didn't really have vast experience. I wasn't drawing upon knowledge about Bitcoin to help understand Bitcoin. It was more the philosophy of libertarianism and freedom for me that was the kicker, because it does help when you are quite literally forced into house arrest. I think always been very anti-establishment as well, and so I mean, teachers in school hated me. I was like the bane of their lives. It was a routine struggle to try to get me to do anything. So I think that the philosophy has always been ingrained. I didn't know what that meant. Now the word would be obviously libertarianism and Bitcoin. But in 2020, yeah, it was just the thought of, I have lost all of my autonomy as a human being. I want to find some way to fight back. And at that point, I heard about Bitcoin through the lens of, it's like a non-violent protest. It's this money that is not controlled. It's freedom money. And so every time the government said something ridiculous, I would buy more Bitcoin and protest. So it started this chain reaction of, Bitcoin is freedom money. What does that mean though? And that's where the Bitcoin standard came in. It was sort of understanding, okay, well, government printed 40% of all money ever created in one single freaking year, 1 year. And I went, well, that doesn't feel right. That doesn't sit right with me. And so I sort of started to unpack, like, what does that mean? Well, when you print money, it's really just a mechanism that enables the rich and powerful to line their own pockets while stealing from the general population. I call it reverse Robin Hood. And so that 40% of all money, that literally was like a blunderbuss, a gun that was like scattered straight through the stock market, and it went straight to the elites. That was the first point. And then the point below that would be, well, actually the dollar loses so much value every year, it's basically toilet paper. And so I started to research, well, how does the Fed actually create the money? And, oh, wow, the dollar's lost over 90% of its value since 1913. So yeah, just to give you some background insights, that was like the lens through which I sort of started to understand what Bitcoin meant to me.
That's awesome. No, I think that freedom aspect and that taking, that quote unquote silent protest, or some people will say vote with your wallet instead of your ballot, is really a first step that people start to look at. And just to clarify here, so where were you during this time in COVID? Were you in the States, or you're from London, if I'm remembering correctly, or England? So where were you in this time? How did you kind of come to this realization of like, okay, they shut me down. I've always had this, strain of rebellion in me, but now I'm going to formalize it and become an orange-pilled Bitcoiner? Yeah,
so I'm a it's a weird phrase to say, I guess, but British Texan. Like, I'm a British cowboy. So I was born in the States. My family are from Fort Worth, but I grew up in the UK. So we moved across when I was young. And so I grew up in the UK. I went through education in the UK. And so I always felt like an alien, truth be told. Like, I felt like I wasn't from there. Everyone around me was acting different than me. And I just felt like something wasn't right. So there was like a streak of rebellion because I was in this strange place that didn't really fit me culturally. And so that's one aspect. And then the other aspect is obviously like, it feels like there's an inherent value of freedom that is written in my DNA, because that is Texas. Like, that is the epitome of Texas. Like, this place is just amazing. And so at that point in COVID, I was in London, and London was one of the worst places you could possibly be during that time. One of the first places to fully, properly lock down. And I'm talking where you would be arrested if you were sitting on a park bench without a coffee in your hand. You would be swatted if you had more than 6 people in your house, in your private residence. I was furious. I mean, every day I was just like, what the is going on? Like, what? How are people so happy to sort of lie down and take the boot on the neck? And not only that, but like ratting out their neighbors too. Like, how does this happen?
Yeah, what were the vibes there in London? I imagine there's probably not a ton of like freedom-oriented libertarians?
No,
Because
no.
like I was in Seattle, and in Seattle it was in. I mean, it doesn't sound like it was as intense as London, but for the United States, I mean, you would get you're certainly not carted off to prison, but you know, you would get like shamed like publicly if you basically left your house. I mean, people were wearing masks while they drove their cars. I mean, the vibes were not at all libertarian, pro freedom vibes.
Similar in London. I would say there's definitely a resurgence of nationalism that's happening right now in the UK because there is such a, I want to say wobbly cultural battle that is going on right now. Uh, yeah, it's a problem. But yes, I would say that generally during that time there was a belief that if you didn't follow the rules, you were going to kill grandma, and that meant that you had
Yeah.
to literally rat out your friends and family if you saw like a bunch of cars in the driveway. You knew that they were doing some kind of gathering or some party, and so I've seen videos. I know people that like were literally getting their door broken down because there was more than 6 people in the room.
That's such a. I didn't realize that you were born in Texas and you're technically a native Texan. That
Yes,
is
sir.
so. That is a very interesting dichotomy of you have the free state of Texas. You're in London in a space where you're probably not able to, you know, get like you're not able to necessarily uh, feel like you're doing or able to take action against the what's going on, right? So the only way to do that is what you were saying, that silent kind of rebellion of buying Bitcoin, and that
Yes.
is just that's again freedom money. But from there, I guess take us on that next step of the journey.
Yep.
So
The journey.
you're really like realizing that part of you is trapped in London, but you're also learning and going down the rabbit hole of the possibilities of Bitcoin and a fully decentralized money system. Now, what happens next?
Yes. So I was seeing all of the macro things happening around the world, which is like you shutting people in their homes, the economy is being shut, like all this money, this massive influx of money is hitting the economy, and inflation is going out of control. And so I'm seeing, oh hell, like this. If this goes dark, we're talking like they're going to bring in CBDCs. And then I started reading about like central bank digital currencies and going, well, if I put my tinfoil hat on, maybe this was the plan all along. It was to use something like this to their advantage. I'm not saying that necessarily it was, strategically released, but maybe they capitalized on being able to shut down the economy and all of the things, the bullshit. Sorry, I don't know if I can cuss on this, but all the bullshit that the World Economic Forum, is so happily to spout around. You'll have no belongings and you'll be happy. You'll own nothing and be happy. And actually, literally creating a book about COVID and the things that they could try and do to the population because of COVID. You start to worry that, well, if they use this to their advantage, maybe we won't ever get our freedom back ever. Like if the plan was to shut us in our home and only let us out if we got the vaccination and signed up to the social credit score, the vaccine passport app, you're suddenly allowed to literally limit human beings. Like you can't go on public transport without showing your pass. You can't go into stores and buy anything without showing your pass. You can't go to restaurants. So there suddenly becomes like a two-tier economy where you're like, you literally can't interact with the world without it. And so I was like, holy shit, like this is terrifying. And I knew that the UK would be one of the first places to try and bring in something like this because people didn't fight it. And so I went, well, there are two options. And those two options are Florida or Texas. Like those are your two options. The places that Florida was better than Texas for a period of time, but the places that kind of remained open and they were fighting the totalitarianism. And I went, well, it's going to be one of the two. I like beaches. Florida could be fun. But I have this side of my family who I've never really reunited with since moving across. And it could be a good opportunity to vote with my feet and go there and try and reconnect with them. So I was fortunate enough to do that. And I moved in 22, January 22. And I've never looked back. I will never be moving back to the UK. I think this is a very special place, Texas. And I think that it's going to be the last stronghold if everywhere else does fall. And who knows? It's still too early to tell. But if everywhere else does fall, I think Texas would be a final stronghold of fighting against totalitarianism.
That's incredible. So you're now, again, voting with your wallet, voting with your feet. But not everybody's going to necessarily vote with their feet. Everybody kind of can vote with their wallet by learning more about Bitcoin, right? So now I want to just kind of switch gears to maybe fast forwarding through all the journey to getting Bitcoin in the hands of people. And it's really not fast forwarding, because you already mentioned that you were working in the education space before. So now you're building Jippi, and this is at the heart an educational tool. Do you want to just describe what Jippi is, how you came up with the idea, and really what you're executing on and building now in Texas?
Yes. So Jippi, just for a reference, it means actual cost in Japanese, and it's a tie-in to the actual cost of our inflation-based money being this insane level of inflation that we can't control, and it's a hidden tax on the general population. So we wanted the name to sort of tie into some meaning, deep-rooted meaning in Bitcoin. So with the company, I wish when I was starting to learn about Bitcoin that there was a way to gamify the onboarding experience, because it was still quite hard to understand. The Bitcoin standard is amazing, and it's like the Bitcoin Bible, but it still covers so many complicated topics, and it does take you a long time to sort of understand the technicalities of what Bitcoin means. And by the way, it's such an amazing piece of technology. Like, this thing is like the purest form of money known to mankind. Like, I could go off in so many tangents to talk about how magical this thing is and how it will solve all of humanity's problems. But the core problem for me with trying to solve with Jippi is 98% of people still don't understand basic concepts to do with Bitcoin. Like, what is the blockchain? What's 21 million supply cap? And Block XYZ did a study that shows intent to purchase actually increases by 50% following education. So those with limited knowledge are 28% likely to purchase. Those with expert knowledge are 78% likely to purchase. So there's literally a direct correlation between someone understanding what this thing is and actually purchasing it. But because 98% of people don't understand the basics, there's a massive barrier to entry for people. With our age group, which is going to be really important, they are going to be one of the largest and richest generations in history, Gen Z, with 12 trillion of expected purchasing power. So we at Jippi, we see this as future Bitcoin purchases that we're going to need to unlock. But we're fighting a struggle, right? Like, if people don't understand the basics of Bitcoin, maybe they're going to be taken by the siren call of crypto casinos, and they're going to go down this whole rabbit hole of shitcoins, which is going to be a travesty. So how can we gamify the experience, make it fun, engaging, so that you're actually learning about Bitcoin, earning Bitcoin, doing it the right way? And that's really what Jippi is. We're building the global Bitcoin earn ramp for Gen Z, and the first product we built is Pokemon Go for Bitcoin. So it's really exciting. I can go on. Sorry. Just thought I took a nice pause there.
No,
You're good. We can edit all this. It's super editable.
Cool.
Okay, cool. So the word that kind of made my ears perk up there is earn ramp, because a lot of people hear on ramp and onboard, but you said earn ramp. Can you go into what you mean by that and why you've decided to go forward with that strategy?
Yes, we have done a whole bunch of research around what Gen Z are interested in, because at the end of the day, I think I mentioned the Bitcoin standard. They have the Gen Z population have an 8-second attention span. So that's abysmal, respectfully. That's abysmal. And we all know it's abysmal. We all know that we get the dopamine when we scroll on Instagram. So you'd rather scroll instead of reading the Bitcoin standard. So really, we have this tiny window through which we can capture interest. Specifically, so Gen Z, 90% of them play some type of game. 70% want to earn some kind of reward. And according to Zebedee, 51% actually want to earn Bitcoin rewards. So what that shows us is the lens through which we can deliver a Bitcoin onboarding experience is through rewards, games, and AR, in this case, augmented reality. So the vision here is to build something that backdoors education. We don't want to lead with education. I think we want to lead with a game that just encourages people to explore Bitcoin in a way that is fun. So imagine you're catching these Bitcoin themed beasts, these creatures in AR around your city, and they're all themed to do with some kind of Bitcoin topic, like Blockchain Bob, Sat Sarah, Nakamoto Nick. To catch this thing, you have to actually answer a trivia question. And then once you've caught it, you actually get sats, Bitcoin as rewards. So that, like, there's quite a nice model for us to capture the interest of a whole demographic, a whole new generation of Bitcoiners, bring them through the doors of Bitcoin, be like, hello, here's some free Bitcoin, enjoy yourself. And then just keep people coming back and playing the game. So I think that we have the potential to be one of the largest on-ramps into the space if we can do this right. Fold is also doing amazing things with the onboarding experience. So I just think gaming in the Bitcoin space is not being done well yet, and we want to do that through Jippi.
I love what you're doing though, because like my kids love Pokemon Go. They're not going to open Fold though to like spin the wheel, but Jippi, they'd be down to catch some, Bitcoin themed Pokemon, and I think that's probably relevant for a lot of people. Like my kids aren't Gen Z. I think actually I think one of my kids is like maybe right at the border, but gaming is all like I don't personally play a lot of games, but I think I'm unique. I think a lot of people play games. To your point, like what did you say? 90% of Gen Z.
Yeah, 98%. Yeah.
98%. 90%. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's a ton.
Yeah, I'm in the minority 10% there. I don't really game either.
Really?
Yeah, I tried it when I was younger. I just wasn't much of a fan. But what I will say is one of the games that I did play when I was in college was Fortnite, and that was a very eye-opening experience for me, seeing people spend hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars on, they call them V-Bucks in Fortnite, right? On V-Bucks. Mm-hmm. And people are like, they're spending real dollars. Now you could think that the US dollar is worth whatever, but at the end of the day, a real valuable currency in fake currency. And that was an unlock for me on the gamification piece of, I wouldn't say Fortnite's educational, maybe for some strategy, I guess. I don't know, you could twist and turn your way into saying how it's educational, but it's not.
It's not.
But the idea
when you have Lady Gaga and freaking Nicki Minaj shooting up a whole player field of other players, I don't think it's educational.
Yeah, no, that's a very fair point. But all that to say is, like, when something is captivating and entertaining, then people are willing to put dollars or currency into it to enhance that experience. And in the case of Jippi, it's not even necessarily to enhance the experience; it's to keep them coming back and keep that experience feeling like that is the goal. That is finding the treasure. That is catching the beast. And the gamification of all learning, I think, is kind of where things are going. And I'm interested to hear your perspective on just education in general, and how is it really like that stick and carrot type model that I've mentioned to you, Jason, in the past, of getting somebody to do a task and then rewarding them? Or are there other ways that you've thought about how we can just get more people educated, which then, according to the research you cited, has a direct correlation with them getting interested in and wanting to learn and earn more Bitcoin?
Education is a hard one with Bitcoin because it's not linear. Like we were talking at the beginning, one person's epiphany, it doesn't mirror precisely. Another person's epiphany might not be the same person's epiphany. So there's lots of angles that you could take with it, right? It's like the freedom angle is one. The number go up technology. Oh, cool, I have this thing, I buy more of it, my money increases in value, while fiat decimates in value, like toilet paper, and goes to zero. Like there's that angle too. And then there's like the shitcoinery of it all, like just playing around, like trying to buy these things because it's the next big, Dogecoin, like, oh, the next Bitcoin. Like, no, once you understand Bitcoin, you know that not to be true. So there's lots of angles. I think that's where the gamification comes in. If I think back to when I was, 18, 19, first hearing about Bitcoin, the tools were there, the individual was there, but the lesson was not taken aboard because my brain, where I was in my life, my mental models were not in the right space to receive the message. If there had been something to say, well, cool, there's a game. It's like Pokemon Go, and I remember at that point everyone was freaking playing Pokemon Go. It was huge, massive. If I play this game where I'm capturing these creatures and I actually get a currency, I get this thing called Bitcoin when I catch these creatures, I naturally start stacking this currency. If I get given more and more and more of it, maybe there's like a vested interest into understanding what this thing actually is. And maybe after I hold, I don't know, $100 worth of rewards or something, maybe I'll buy some. Like, okay, well, I have these $100 of rewards, it's still increasing in value. Maybe I'll buy $1,000. And then you sort of start to, like, your investment tapers up. So that's really what I think we want to do here is we want to try and crack what makes more sense with this generation. I think it's gaming and rewards. That's the vision, at least. But yeah, what about you guys? I mean, I'm always interested in hearing more about onboarding and what works for you. So what was the angle that got you guys into Bitcoin?
Well, but before we go there, I just want to say how cool it is. So this week we're seeing protests, riots, violence, and it's really cool to see. I feel like you saw brokenness in the system and said, I need to do something about this. I can't stand back. But you took this like peaceful, let's have fun, revolutionary approach where you're just building games as an act of protest. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, that's my philosophy. As a libertarian, I believe in someone's fundamental right to make whatever decision is right for them and live life how they see fit, so long as they're not hurting other people. And I think that applies to most of Bitcoin's mentality. So I won't be the one that forces it down people's throats. That is not my MO. I don't want to be the one that says, you're dumb, I don't have time to tell you about it. Like that mentality might have worked before, but not anymore. Like we need to do something else. The approach of throwing people inside a Bitcoin exchange app in front of a smash buy button may have worked for a period, and you'll get some of the early adopters buying Bitcoin that way, and that's amazing because that's the way that Swan operated, and River, and Unchained, and Strike, and all these companies that have onboarded the early adopters. But now we're sort of slowly tapering up to mass adoption, slowly but surely. So the strategies need to change. And I think that we should be doing it in a fun way where we can take the people who may be like, well, Bitcoin is fine. I've heard about it. I'm not really interested, but I'd rather play something that captures my interest, that turns me onto it eventually. So I just naturally become a Bitcoiner through time.
Is your business accepting a form of payment that stores value over time? A recent survey showed the number one challenge that small business owners are facing today is inflation. You raise prices, renegotiate with vendors, try to stay ahead, but your dollars keep losing purchasing power. At the Bitcoin Payments Advisor, we help business owners like you accept Bitcoin, a form of money that's built to resist inflation. Unlike dollars, Bitcoin has a fixed supply, and that means the value that you receive today has the potential to hold or grow over time, not quietly erode. Our service makes it simple. No servers and tech headaches, just easy setup, white glove support, integration with your existing systems. If you're ready to explore a smarter way to get paid, one that helps you fight inflation instead of fall behind, visit bitcoinpaymentsadvisor.com. Again, that's bitcoinpaymentsadvisor.com. Have you gotten feedback from users? Do you feel like people are learning about Bitcoin and using it and through the gamification becoming Bitcoiners?
I mean, yes, I would say that we've got early users who are using it. There's a really cool video that we put up online of this user in Austin riding around Austin on his rims, his Bitcoin orange glowing rims at night, catching these beasts. And he sent it to us and he went, dude, this game is amazing. So it's nice to see real world scenarios where people are actually using it. It is still early for us. You know, we launched the Beast Catch live in March for Top Builder. So we were on this we're on Pleb Lab's accelerator, and Pleb Lab is an amazing company here based out in Austin that has a bunch of companies in their accelerator. We're one of them. And every year they run this competition where they try and find some of the best builders in the space. Jippi was on the program this year, and we ended up winning against 14 other teams. And so again, that's more fuel to the fire that we have something special here, because all the judges were unanimous. They all decided that we are the most marketable. They all decided we have something that is investable, truly. Combined with our research at South by Southwest that we did on the street, we got a beast costume, we handed out cards and free Bitcoin rewards, and we were pulling in conversion rates of up to 3.6%, which is way above industry average. And Jack helped us with that. So you're a hero.
Yeah, I mean, I was privileged enough to help with the Top Builder marketing blitz for Jippi, and I was doing the digital marketing of the TikTok and Instagram ads. And yeah, those conversion rates, like when you first sent them to me, I was like, oh no, like did I do something wrong? And then you're like, no, these are like so much higher than industry average. And I was like, what? I was like, that just means that there's something there. People were interested in it. People saw it and they're like, oh, I can earn this thing that people keep talking about, but I haven't took the time to learn about by playing a game that, you know, everybody remembers the summer of Pokemon Go. It took the world by storm. So when it's a revamped version of that, in a sense, but you can actually get paid to play it, then it's a very compelling story. The energy during South by, which, you know, and I'm happy to go deeper into Pleb Lab and all the things that is going on there too, and your experience working with those guys, because it is a really unique group that's come together in Austin to try and build and innovate forward in Bitcoin. But yeah, that Top Builder journey was a ton of fun to work with you and see the excitement around everything with the monster dancing in the street and handing out. I think it was EK in the
EK and Jana. EK and Jana. Jana was on the street and they were dancing at the game.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, and I think the feedback that you got from that was also super valuable from, you know, both regular people in the streets of Austin and who are in town for the event, but also the students that you talked to during that time as well. And I'd love for you to kind of rehash and go into some of that, because that is your target audience, those students and those, you know, soon to be professionals in the workplace.
Yeah, I would love to, because I think it's important to discuss where we are politically with Bitcoin. So the overwhelming consensus was positive. I think using the slogan "Pokemon Go for Bitcoin" may eventually get us in trouble, but for now, you know, it's like a nice way to sort of tie into there's this thing that already exists, and we're adding Bitcoin to it. So that was great, because we got lots of interest from that, and that helped us win the competition. But we did also go to UT campus here in Austin, and they're one of probably the most liberal colleges around, and the response was very negative. One person, and I quote, told me, "I would rather die than understand Bitcoin." So I think that we are at a perilous place when it comes to the conception of what this thing means to different people in society. Right? Does that make sense? Because like the liberals have been polarized against it at this point.
So do you think that was the reason it was political, is the reason that particular individual would rather die than understand Bitcoin?
Yes, because I believe now at this stage, uh, God bless him, because Trump won, and I think it's a great thing for Bitcoin in general. Adoption is increasing. We're seeing all the ETFs coming in. I mean, it's like a great time to be a Bitcoiner. But by aligning with maybe more of like the conservative ideals, I think we've alienated everyone on the left from Bitcoin. Like they have, from an outsider's perspective, a view that this tool is now a conservative tool, which it's not. This thing is apolitical. It always has been. So I think it's in all of our interest to figure out how do we take a step back to the center, and how do we get both sides to come and accept this tool without being political. Because it's like, guys, Bitcoin is for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, where you're from. You should be seeing that your money is being freaking decimated. Left, right, whoever in Congress are printing insane amounts of money, and like it's only going to go to zero, the dollar. So like, come on, we have to get back to together.
You couldn't have said that better. I 100% agree with you. And it's really unfortunate when we're cutting out half the country because we are politicizing an apolitical money. But
absolutely. I mean, I think it's an interesting debate. And what's hard is, yes, there is that sentiment of, orange man, orange coin, bad. But there needs to be, and again, to bring it back to Jippi, this is why I like the, fun, playful, harmless way of getting people educated on Bitcoin, because it's not just one side good, one side bad. It's like there needs to be, to use a protocol term, consensus of this thing is apolitical. It's better for the good of not even necessarily just the country, but also, I think we'd all agree, humanity, of having a separation of the money printer and the state. And it's not just, it's something that is continuing to play out, of where it feels like it's getting more political, to the point where it's like that horseshoe effect of like, now we're just back to where we started of everyone hating it. But I think there's the other side of that spectrum of everybody loving it. And that's what, we need to get more people educated on, because then it's like, oh, this can help, provide better services for any issue or any problem or any group that that you're looking to kind of help support or provide additional awareness or education to. And I think that's going to be the really interesting piece in the next, year or so, as the U.S. election cycle starts to ramp up again with midterms, and then ultimately 2028. Because if it continues to go down a political path, it's just going to get weird, because there's going to be more and more Bitcoiners that are on every and each side of the spectrum. So then people are just going to realize that they're arguing about nothing, because it's like, okay, yeah, we're both Bitcoiners, but now we're just arguing about an entirely different issue that has nothing to do with Bitcoin. So then you're just back to regular old politics.
Yeah. And what's interesting as well with where we are in the cycle is all these institutions are adopting Bitcoin. All these treasury companies are starting to bring in Bitcoin treasuries. But despite that, we're seeing a massive lull in Google search queries for Bitcoin, and blocks on the blockchain are half empty, like mempool is half empty. Like what's going on? So we're trying to work this out. No one really knows, obviously, but one possible hypothesis is that most people have heard of Bitcoin now. Most people have heard about Bitcoin, and they've already made their decision about it. That's a problem. If you make a snap decision about this thing that you don't truly understand, that's a problem. It means it's not just about understanding it, but you're now actively fighting against it. That's a huge, massive issue. It's like seeing all of the stuff that's going on with the Doge cuts. And like, you have Elon Musk, who is obviously kind of polarizing, but this dude has spent months in government, has uncovered like an insane amount of corruption and misspending and like crazy things the government are doing. And not only are you not accepting it as truth, liberals not accepting it as truth, but you're fighting against it. Like, you're actually stopping him from trying to do the work to fix the current system. Like, that just goes to show how polarized we truly are. And Bitcoin is now, unfortunately, a part of it. So how do we unblock from this situation? I don't know, but we've got to try something.
Yeah, I think the way to do that is through providing just better goods and services, both from an education and a non-education, just pure business standpoint, while using Bitcoin as just the money, right? It's not necessarily of we need more wallets, we need more exchanges. Those are built and they work, and I'm sure new ones will come into play and try to do different, financial tools, whether it's in regard to lending or whatever it may be, or treasury companies, et cetera. But at the end of the day, if somebody builds a kick-ass business that can provide me a better service for a cheaper price because they're denominating their currency in Bitcoin, I don't care what their politics is. Like if I have a leak in my house, which is hypothetical because I don't have a house, but if I had a leak in my roof, then I would want the repairman to come who's going to give me the best service. And if that's somebody who is using Bitcoin, then you know, I could almost come to a conclusion of like, hey, yeah, this he's taken a low time preference approach to provide me a better good and service. And Bitcoiners give the best referrals and the most honest feedback. So like, so it's that push and pull. I think that's how we get it depoliticized. Honestly, is just stop making it political and let politicians make everything political because that's what they do. That's their job. But Bitcoiners, yes, we've kind of wandered into the world of politics, and now we have relationships, some good, some bad. But at the end of the day, like you just got to build things, and you just got to keep pushing forward a better future. That's what I see. I've been told I'm naive, and I've been told that that the world will eventually take out the light inside me. But not yet. Not today. Not today.
Going back though to what we were saying earlier about a quiet, peaceful revolution, like you can vote with your money today, right? You can extract your money out of the fiat system. You can save in Bitcoin. You can pay with Bitcoin. You can choose every day to opt out of the broken fiat system, and then you can take it a step further, like what you're doing, Oliver, and building. I mean, you can build educational tools and games and all kinds of things. One question I have for you, Oliver, is like, what is it that you're teaching people in the game? This week, I've heard, should have bought Bitcoin years ago. I guess I missed the boat. This week, I heard, I don't have $100,000, so I guess I'll never own Bitcoin. There's all kinds of things that we hear every day. Different blockers. And we've talked about some of the political blockers. So what are the things that you're kind of teaching people through the app and through the game to help remove some of those blockers?
Yes. With education, specifically technical education, it is a challenge to break down these concepts in a way that doesn't alienate folks. Because it is so heavy, like to understand what proof of work actually is, like what's hashing, like how does that work? Why does that play into me being able to use money? Like what's the relationship there? So what we've started to do is just like have a broad Venn diagram, a mind map of these topics that is surface level enough to capture interest. For example, what is the blockchain? Who's Satoshi? What's the 21 million supply cap? Just broad concepts. And so when you catch a beast, you get options and you'll answer one of those trivia questions and it gives you the answer.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Does it tell you
Sure.
why these things matter or are relevant to them? And kind of take it a step deeper on like, how does this impact their lives personally?
We do want to bring in some personalization for sure, but at the moment it's just for the beast catch, and we have structured education as well. So we actually have islands of courses. So right now, if you do beginner island, you'll get a bunch of cards. You'll get like an Instagram story approach where we've given you the topics you can tap through. It's quite like easily consumable. One level down in intermediate island, you actually have like modules, and you'll start to see images come through and paragraphs, and you'll read about the history of money, and you'll go more in depth. And then finally, there's a card matching game. So at the end, the final island, the mastery island, is you're matching these cards, and then it gives you a blurb about that topic. So what we're trying to do here is like reinforce certain topics so that you can make the connection in your head as to why this is important. But yeah, eventually I think we need to find some way to tailor education more towards that particular individual that might understand certain things to do with their backstory. So that's going to be far off, and we're going to work on that in the future.
I find that's a challenge because everyone has a different story. I built a cashless donations for the homeless app. I co-founded that. And it's like one of the things we found is with homelessness, everyone has a unique story. It's like the same week my girlfriend left me, my home burned down, and that led to depression. And there's everyone has a different story and reason for how they ended up on the streets. And similarly, what is the blocker for understanding Bitcoin? It's going to be different for everyone. I built this like page for why should a business accept Bitcoin. The thing is, it's a little bit different for everyone. It's for some people, it's like I want to accept a form of money that stores value over time. For other people, it's like, well, I want to opt out of like broken, financial system, banking fragility. There's all kinds of reasons, and it's hard to know what that particular individual their reasons are. Maybe choose your own adventure if you have a gaming experience or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that's why the game being entertaining is a whole nother. That is like the dopamine hit, right? Because when you hear education, you're like, oh, what am I going to read a textbook? Like, am I going to watch it? Am I going to watch a YouTube video? Am I going to chat GPT it? Like, no. But then when you can keep people hooked in a game, then you all of a sudden find yourself learning just through osmosis, more or less, because you have to learn these things in order to succeed. In earn the prize or win the game. Think about like TV and award or game shows. those are relatively entertaining, and then you actually find yourself watching Jeopardy, and you're like, oh, now I know this random fact about the 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 Ottoman Empire from whatever year because it's Jeopardy. It's entertaining. Maybe Jeopardy's not the best example there because it's literally a trivia show, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I think I definitely agree with that. The way I look at it is I don't even remember what my touch points were for me. I know some of them, which I gave you at the beginning, but I don't know the actual full touch points that I needed to experience for exposure therapy, quote unquote, that then sort of shaped the puzzle piece in my mind that helped me to understand Bitcoin. Once we crack that, once we understand, oh, right, then we can formulate a journey for each person. Like that would speed up that onboarding process so dramatically.
And Oliver, one of the things that I remember you and I talked about basically at length, this was probably a month ago, was like Gen Z and, the gamification, but also just some of the habits and things that my generation's been grown up into being part of our daily life, right? And you asked before, like, what was one of the things that got myself to start understanding or learning Bitcoin or even buying it, when I was first getting orange pilled. And for me, I'd heard about Bitcoin. I kind of, the idea made sense in my head, like cut out the middleman, no need for banks, all that type of stuff. But one of the things as well that really got me over the edge was I was gambling in college because that's what people my age did. You would, put money on games and try to win it back. And I remember I was having a conversation with somebody close to me, and I was like, dude, like I just keep losing. Like I'm losing, like it wasn't that much, but it was like, 25, 50, maybe $75 a week. I was losing in gambling. And I would have some positive weeks, but then I was just thinking back and I was like, oh my God, like this is adding up. So this person, he was like, hey, I don't know what he's like, whatever your unit per bet is, take one bet per week that you'd be putting out and just put it into Bitcoin. So like that is your bet for the week because over time Bitcoin will go up. And, I was very fortunate. I mean, this was, I don't know, I was a freshman or sophomore in college when this was happening. So that was like the almost unlock for me. Now, what's unfortunate is I no longer view Bitcoin as a gamble. I view it as actually a safe, relatively lower risk um, savings and investment in my future. But that idea or that possibility of like taking something and putting it into taking something from the gamified world of gambling and sports betting, and then just putting it in something somewhere else, that was really powerful for me, because obviously that got me to where we are sitting and talking here today. But I think that's what is so interesting about Gen Z as a population. It's like we have these habits that we've grown up with that have become so normalized, and you have to build the earn ramp to get them to switch over to what I think we all agree is a better habit of low time preference, and actually saving for a better tomorrow, and looking through things with a lens of like, oh, this is sustainable, this is freedom focused, and this is fair, versus something like gambling where the house always wins, or like I could go on and on about all of the kind of denigrated habits that we have in our everyday society. But that was just something like that was when you asked that question, I was like, huh, what was the actual impetus for me to start DCAing? And it really was just another bet, more or less. It turned out to be a pretty good one, because I didn't even realize that it wasn't a bet. It was an investment in my future.
Yeah. So yours was actually playing with these units. It's like actually playing with these units and seeing numbers change. That's what yours was. And so I think for this future period where we're all trying to work out how do we structure these touch points for Gen Z and Bitcoin, or anyone with Bitcoin, that's going to be a challenge to figure out. For example, Yopaki, who's another company out of Pleb Lab, they have a really cool Lotteria game where it's basically like bingo, and you sign up to Yopaki and you see this board with a bunch of cards, and you're basically going to be matching cards. They give you a new card every day, sorry. So what you're seeing is a touch point where you're like, there's this app that gives you Bitcoin when you match a card. You come back every day. Like, this is such a cool way to touch point experience Bitcoin. The other one is like, how do we actually use Bitcoin? One of my first touch points to Sats was when I actually moved to Austin, and I was first exposed to Oshi. And I remember buying a lobster roll with Bitcoin, with Sats, and it was just freaking monumental. Seeing there's this magical internet money that actually can be redeemed for goods and services, like that's another touch point. So how can Jippi like bring in these touch points as a way to onboard someone, educate them, allow them to stack Sats, go spend Bitcoin, and then maybe launch off into the industry and start experiencing other services, Bitcoin services? That's the goal. That's what we want to build.
No, that's awesome. And I'm excited to see it, because we need more. We need more touch points. We need more Bitcoin podcasts. Shout out. No, but I think we need more everything in Bitcoin, because I truly believe that Bitcoiners are the ones that take action in a world of inaction. And the more just different thoughts and approaches and ideas that we can get to bring on that next generation of Bitcoiners, because at the end of the day, it's going to be everybody. So if you can get even a little bit of Sats in somebody's hands, that's what we mean when we say we're still early, because so many people don't have that privilege yet, or don't have the awareness yet. And it's a dilemma to get that to get that to the next 100 million, billion, ultimately 8 billion people. And it's tools like Jippi that are helping push that forward.
Thank you. Yeah, we are really excited. I truly believe that we have something, and my mission as CEO of Jippi is to get funding. So we decided to partner with a company called Timestamp. Instead of going to VCs, where that's such a shit game, honestly, like it's one of the worst games to play as venture capital. So I think going to try to democratize fundraising through a crowd raising platform like Timestamp is really powerful with a Bitcoin company, because you literally go to the plebs and say, hey, I have this application, I have this service. We're trying to build a parallel Bitcoin economy. Will you invest in a company like Jippi for equity? Like literally help build the parallel economy. So we are on Timestamp at the moment. We're trying to raise 250K. We've raised 66 so far. Pretty decent. But yeah, we invite anyone to invest in Jippi. We have different sort of perks and fundraising rewards for different tiers, but you can invest in Jippi with as little as $100. So that's how we're going to get funding, is through the plebs. You can find us, timestampfinancial.com is the website, and that shows all the campaign.
That's really cool. I didn't realize that. Is that kind of like Thunder Funder?
Correct. Yes. Similar. Very similar to Thunder Funder.
Yeah. I love that because it gives people a way. I mean, it's like Kickstarter, but for businesses and something you're passionate about, and getting like real world tools for the average person. Not everyone has savings. Not everyone can start hodling, but most everyone has a smartphone and can have fun on it through the form of a game.
Yeah. Like Kickstarter, but with a vital difference that with Indiegogo and Kickstarter, you just get perks. You don't actually own anything. So with companies like Thunder Funder and Timestamp, you actually invest in the company. We give you equity, so you literally become a shareholder in the company. So that's a big difference, I think. You just the byproduct is you get something fun, because we do have perks and rewards as well.
Is there a Bitcoin component to that as well, or maybe they can like provide Bitcoin as the form of money when they, invest, or how does that work?
Yeah, there's only so much I can say at this stage, because I have to let Timestamp do
Sure,
the announcements themselves. But yeah, it's really exciting. They have some really cool things to announce very soon. At this stage, Jippi accepts fiat, so you can add your credit card or you can do a direct bank transfer. But in the future, we hope to have some more options available to you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we're confident that once we get our fundraising, it will be pedal to the metal, foot down on the accelerator, and we'll be able to evolve the game into something way more fun and engaging. Instead of just catching beasts for sats, maybe there's a concept where you're actually able to battle these beasts. So there's a really, we've got some really exciting things planned that require us to get fundraising. So do help us achieve our goals. The plebs will support us, and we'll go on to build some great things.
Yeah. Everybody listening, go support Oliver and own a piece of his company.
Yes, own a piece of Jippi.
Yeah, no, I think this has been a really insightful conversation, because one of, as somebody who I guess is Gen Z, and not to speak on behalf of my generation, but it's something that I'm really focused on, of helping get more people in my generation involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem and coming to meetups and ultimately learning more and all that stuff that Bitcoin just does such a natural job of pulling people into. I just want it to happen a little faster. And Oliver, I think you do as well. And that's why,
hell yeah,
and that's why Jippi is exciting for myself, because again, I'm in that 10% that doesn't necessarily game, but I realize that is the minority. So many people are gaming. So many people are on their phone 24/7, and if we can just get more people to maybe learn a little bit about this Bitcoin thing while that is already occurring, then we can help them out. Help me help you is a lot of times I find myself repeating to myself.
Yes, Bitcoin will eat the world if we can get everyone to the table. Come on, guys, let's work together to try and make this thing the reserve currency of the world. Let's stop fighting. But thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that, Jack. I think we have magic here, and it's just about trying to speed up this process as fast as we possibly can,
and get it into the hands.
Down with fiat.
And get it into the hands of regular, everyday people, not just treasury companies and institutions and corporations, right?
Yes, sir. The plebs need Bitcoin more than institutions.
Yeah, 100%. Oliver, thank you for joining us. Where can people find you if they want to learn more?
Yes, so you can find the Jippy's website is jippi.app. That's jippi.app, and you can find us there. That actually links out to the app on both Google Play and iOS on the App Store, so you can download the app today. My X is HeyOlpo, HeyOlpo, so you're welcome to follow me and start the dialogue. And I mentioned Timestamp, so you can head to timestampfinancial.com. That's where our crowd raise is, and invest today. We'll be closing that out soon-ish, so it won't be that long until we finish the fundraising. So we'd love to have you be a part of it. But yeah, just it's just a pleasure. It's a pleasure to speak to folks like you guys who are in the same boat as me. We're all in this mission together, and we're trying to do the best for the world. And Bitcoin is that thing. So
I just got the app downloaded. I'm pumped to play.
Woo! Enjoy.
All right, fellas. Thank you for joining us, Oliver.
Awesome. Thank you guys. This was fun. Thank you.